Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks for joining us. A lot to get into, as always. The NCAA tournament field is growing again, up to 76. We'll talk about that. Also, the Steelers and the never-ending drama that is Aaron Rodgers. We'll get into that as well. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is the Penguin season. Here to talk about it, Andrew Fillipponi, 93.7 The Fan, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and the Big Ten Network, and Ray Fittipaldo of the Post-Gazette. So, gentlemen, Andrew, I'll start with you. Autopsy of Flyers-Penguins. I think the Penguins are the better team. We're the better team as this series moved on, but they lost. Why?
They dug themselves too big of a hole. I mean, they let the Flyers get in their heads early in the series. That's the one thing that they knew better than to do. I mean, they lived it. Sidney Crosby's lived it for 20 years of his life. The Big Three, the longest tenured trio in North American sports history. They are veterans, and they can't let that happen. And that's what happened in Game 1. Game 2, a little bit less, but still prevalent. And then Game 3, they went to Philly and had control of the game early, let it get away. I mean, it stinks because it's the last team in the world you want to lose a playoff series to. And it's not like an uber-talented team. We just saw Game 1 of Carolina-Philadelphia, and that looks
Penguins
like it's going to
would have been a better matchup for Carolina.
That looks like it's going to be a bug windshield series, Mike.
Yeah, I thought, honestly, the disappointment for me was Game 1 to Game 2. Game 1, there were some explanations. One, they clinched so early. They decided to rest, not take injury risks. And maybe that's a good idea because you didn't get anybody injured, but it certainly hurt Game 1. But Game 2, they came out in much the same fashion as if they hadn't played Game 1, as if the whole Philadelphia game plan, both from the standpoint of what Andrew talked about in terms of making it not hockey, but also the great job they did in the neutral zone for those first few games. That faded as the series went along. If they could have just gotten Game 2, I think they win the series.
To me, Game 6 was a microcosm of the entire series. They couldn't score. Anthony Mantha was their leading scorer for the regular season. He did not score in the playoffs. Kendall did not score in the playoffs. So
Chinakhov did not score.
Did not score in the playoffs. So to me, you had one team during the regular season. Philadelphia kind of mucked it up, made it their type of a series. And to Mike's point, they adjusted. I just think they adjusted a little bit too late.
Bob, their season was a little bit overrated. In this way, okay, I know you made a face already because the bar was set so low for them. They won 41 games and lost 41.
Most teams are like that.
But I'm just saying they only won 41 games. That's half of your games.
It's a point collection system.
But
if you actually had a proper seeding system, the Penguins were 7th and the Flyers were 8th.
But the loss 41 includes a truckload of games they lost in shootouts because Shilovs couldn't stop up. Well, and oddly enough, he was fantastic at it in the series.
Sure.
But he couldn't stop a shootout goal. For how many games did they lose because he was in goal?
Kings. The LA Kings shouldn't have been in the playoffs based on that.
Right, and if we were in LA, I might say something about that. Yeah. But overall, the reason why, because I brought this up the other day, if Mike Sullivan had coached this Penguins team to the same exact result, would we be praising him the way that we're doing?
No,
we're not.
I think a rookie.
Right. So, yes, Muse is a newcomer, and he stepped in and he did a tremendous job when the expectations were so low. But
I totally disagree. What you got out of Mantha, what you got out of Chinakhov, the other teams weren't getting out of him. What you got out of Kendall, who is an 18-year-old rookie, I don't buy that at all.
Mike, why don't we do what you're saying right now and equivocate? Why don't we do that with the team Ray covers?
Well, I do, and I have done for a decade.
But the population doesn't. The Penguins have gone 8 years now with a playoff series victory, and they're getting like moral victory pats on the back. The Steelers don't get that.
But I think it's a rookie coach, a whole bunch of new, and the expectation bar had fallen that far.
But their nucleus are Stanley Cup winners.
I understand that, but the thought was
40-year-old Stanley Cup winners.
Yeah.
Let's
they played
be
pretty
realistic.
well. They averaged those guys. Anyway, let's talk about what happens next, because there is a next here, and the Penguins have to think about their offseason. What do? They have some really interesting debates and questions to answer. And Mike, one of them is Evgeny Malkin, who averaged 1.09 points per game at his age, pretty good. And he's making $6 million thereabouts. He's expired. He needs a new contract. Does he get one here? Should he get one here?
Yeah, he should, but it can't be $6 million again. It's going to have to be less because he's not.
He averaged a point per game.
I realize that, but the odds of him continuing to do that are not great. Maybe an incentive deal. I'll be honest, I don't know if the NHL has that. I know other leagues do, but if they do, maybe something like that. But you can't count on him at that age going out and doing a point a game. I would bring him back, but I would do it with changes. I like the fact that he played on the wing toward the end of the season. I thought that was great, but I think he's got to come off the first power play. Or you reposition him. You can't have him as the second defenseman. That's too risky. It doesn't work. They almost led the league in shorthanded goals allowed.
That's right, 13 of them.
Yeah, to me, I mean, Malkin, if he comes back on a team-friendly deal, I think that's okay. What that number is, maybe $4.5, $5 million. You want to keep your good players. To me, the onerous contract is Chris Letang's. He's 2 more years at about $6 million. I don't think he played as well as Malkin did. So to me, that's the big contract and the big problem.
They also have issues, Andrew, with guys, and I say issues, they're nice issues. Brian Russ is a 30-goal scorer. He's still very good at what he does. So is Rickard Rakell. A year ago, those names were being mentioned as trade possibilities. They have, limited no-trade clauses. How did they dig out from this? Or did they just keep the whole thing
right.
together?
I mean, this is the conundrum of who they are and what they want to be. And it didn't work trying this with Ron Hextall. It worked better this year with Dubas, where you're trying to retool and rebuild while also trying to be competitive and be fair to Sidney Crosby. Evgeny Malkin, the free agent pool is so poor. If he doesn't get $6 million from another team, I'd be shocked. I mean, there's very few good players out there. He averaged more points per game than Sid did this year. Barely, but still he did.
The option could be using some of the guys in your system.
Well,
like McGrory. A lot of these guys haven't done anything, though.
My take on the whole thing is Dubas's plan before the season started was to not bring Malkin back. And I don't think he wants to deviate from his plan and allow for what Mike said, maybe like a surprisingly good season, change his mind and have him go from what his original idea was, which was to get younger and to move on. My thought.
Maybe that's why he has not commented too much, other than Malkin basically saying, I want to come back. He knows I want to come back, maybe 2 years. Maybe that scared Dubas.
Yeah, but you hear a lot of voices inside the organization from the terrific reporters that we have covering this team that say that there is a significant part of the organization that wants him back. And obviously that would start with Sid, but it also includes others as well. Look, I just don't see how having good players hurts you. I'll never buy the idea that having guys who are productive hurts you. Now, there have been times within the last half decade or so when Gino's effort wasn't good enough and his performances weren't good enough. But the last couple of years, they've been much better, especially this past year. And I think it's worthwhile if it's not an onerous deal in terms of the amount.
Real quick, I want to talk about goalies, Ray. Miroshov is the guy. He played well last night in a playoff game. Yeah. He's been really good all year. He's going to be here next year. Is he number one, number two? Sheelos would be the other guy. Skinner, free agent, gone? Yes? Or how would you do it?
Well, Skinner should be gone. I think you got to roll with the young guy. I think you hand him the job early, see if he can handle it. If he does, good. If not, you'll have options otherwise. But he's got a lot of hype around him. He's a young player. I think you got to go with him.
The way they handled it this year, actually, you don't have to hand him anything because they alternated almost through the entire season. So you go that way next year, and he handles it or he doesn't. And then maybe the more he handles it, the bigger his job gets, or the less he handles it, the bigger Sheelov's gets.
The issue for them for a long time has been they go into these playoff series and their goaltender isn't as good or play as well as the other guy. And it's happened now for almost a decade. So I want to see somebody different, and that's why the Russian kid would be my pick next year.
All right, we're going to take a break on that note. When we come back, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers and a very rare tag that was given to him this week by the Steelers. We'll get into that and more as we continue right here with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Welcome back. We're talking about the Steelers, and this is a topic that doesn't seem to end. It's the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. They drafted Drew Aller. They have Will Howard. They also have no confirmation that Aaron Rodgers is coming here, which led to Ray Fittipaldo, the unrestricted free agent tag that we seldom use, apparently, but it was used in this case, which indicates they don't have much. I mean, it's done for what reasons? Why do they issue those things?
Yeah, seldom known about, too. It's kind of a surprise to me when that came out last week. It was done to protect themselves. They'll get a comp pick if Aaron Rodgers does sign with another team. But I think the bigger story in this, Bob, is I don't think the Steelers truly know, like they did last year, that Rodgers is coming. I think they are hoping. I think Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers have that good relationship, so there's still hope there. But I don't think they know with certainty that they did last year. And now the big question is, at what point does Art Rooney maybe put his foot down? Is it May 18th when OTAs start? Is it June 2nd when the mandatory minicamp starts? I think those are the two next dates to watch. But to me, I think it's getting to a point where they have to know, and I think they have to know relatively soon.
This has been pushed down the road quite a bit. I mean, there were different deadlines, supposedly, but none of them have been met.
Yeah, I don't know when they actually knew. No one really does, other than the people involved in the organization a year ago. I don't know for sure. But he didn't show up until the start of minicamp last year and signed very close to that. So I don't know why they would need to know sooner at this point, because they have fewer options now than they did a year ago. So to me, it doesn't matter now. The time they needed to know was prior to free agency, and at that point, everyone seemed to believe that he was coming back. And why it's dragged on from that point, early March or so, until now, makes no sense to me. But not much in this whole scenario, other than his performance most Sundays in the fall, really has made sense.
I think he will come back and play, but you have to think, when they made that move on Monday, that was at least them alerting everyone to the idea that there's a small chance he not only doesn't play for them, but he plays for somebody else. You don't get a comp pick if he retires. You only get a comp pick if he goes and plays for another team. So why would you do that unless you thought that there was at least, even if it's a 0.1 percentage chance? Like, he has not said to them, clearly, I'm either going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers or retire. And if he said that and they believed him, they wouldn't have done what they did on Monday.
What do you think his reaction, Ray, would be when he heard this news? I know they alerted his agent and everything, but if he had thoughts maybe of Denver because of Bo Nix's continual issues out there.
Yeah. Everything I know about the situation is the communication has been very good between not only Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, which you would think would be really good because of their past, but I think Omar and Art Rooney also forged really good relationships with Aaron last year as well. So everything I know about the situation is everything is still very positive, but it's Aaron Rodgers. And I think we have to acknowledge that. He can do something that's out of the ordinary here, and I think the move was really...
But if they know that, why did they say repeatedly, okay, we're going to find out before free agency.
Right.
We're going to find out before the draft.
All these
they know what they're working with, and they know that it could go as long as Mike said to minicamp, and there's no harm, no foul. Why not put out that kind of messaging the entire time?
I think they were hoping. Art Rooney was hoping for an earlier answer, and he never got it.
All right. I mean, to me, that's interesting. At least the next question, Mike. Well, how do they handle these young kids now, Aller and Howard? Obviously, they're going to get a little bit of runway in this offseason, just like last year. But then eventually, if he comes back, they're going to not get much. So how do they form their future franchise quarterback positioning? What do they do?
Well, it's going to have to start with Howard because you already know what you have with Mason, and he's been a very capable backup. But it's not been like, other than that end of 23 part where he won 3 games in a row and got him into the playoffs, he's never really broken out. He's been basically a 500 quarterback as a starter in the NFL, and that's certainly not what they're looking for. So they go into OTAs and they can get a lot of looks at Howard, and they can do a lot of work with Drew Aller. I don't know that either of those is likely to come to fruition. The odds against either of them becoming a successful NFL starter are astronomical. I've done the numbers on both of them going back to the drafts of 2000 to 2024. And I knew that the numbers on the 6th round pick, Will Howard, would be really steep. But I did it just this week on Drew Aller, and there's still only really 3 capable NFL starters in 25 years of 3rd and 4th round draft picks. So the odds are very steep against Drew Aller as well.
What do they do, Andrew?
Well, I don't think they know what they're doing, which is the funny part of this, because they hired a guy who's a quarterback whisperer. Look, people can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't know how you develop 2 quarterbacks at once. I don't. How many times has that worked in NFL history? You're going to say Kirk Cousins and Robert Griffin worked out? It only did because one guy blew out his knee, and they had to put their eggs in another basket. This isn't exactly Joe Montana and Steve Young at the same time. Wow. So to me, my opinion, if they really, really loved Will Howard, okay, they should not have drafted a guy in the 3rd round to take opportunities away from him.
Or they thought maybe Rodgers wasn't as, they weren't as confident he's coming, so they had to take a quarterback just to have somebody else, and they thought he was.
Because to what Mike just said, it's already a low percentage play on a 6th round pick. Why would you take more opportunities away from him if you need to invest in him a lot in the first place?
Until you got to hit sometimes, right, Ray? I mean, you got to find what the next guy is.
Yeah,
How do you do it unless you keep trying?
I have no issues with the Drew Aller pick, but I'm curious, why can't you develop two quarterbacks?
Well, when has it worked, Ray? I mean, to Mike's point,
it's a unique situation. I mean, the Steelers are in this predicament where they haven't had a QB since 2021. I think they're trying new things. I think there's enough practice time to go around. There might not be enough preseason time to go around, but I think you can learn a lot in practices, and I think Mike McCarthy can handle this just fine, in my opinion.
All right, we'll find out. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about offensive line and what happens now with the Steelers. Is there going to be some position flexibility issues? We'll get into that next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. We're talking about the Steelers' offensive line, too, because they decided not, Ray Fittipaldo, to pick up the fifth-year option on Broderick Jones. Now, that was certainly not the plan when they drafted him. They thought he'd be a two-contract guy. That's not going to happen. What does that mean for Troy Fautanu, and what does it mean for Ihanachor? Where do these guys play? Yeah,
I think Ihanachor only played right tackle when he was involved in major college football. I know he played on the left side of JUCO, but keep him on the right side, and I think that means Troy Fautanu is going to be your starting left tackle or your starting left guard. So they've got some options here as spring ball continues. It's a possibility.
Ray, but it always goes the opposite, right? Like a great guard, try to make him a great tackle because the position is more valuable. He was a good tackle. It doesn't make sense to make a good tackle a good guard.
But they also have questions at guard.
They do have questions.
I mean, they do. They don't have many solid. Hoffman's a guy who could come in and play maybe, but he's not certainly. Unless you think Dylan Cook, can he be the guy? I don't know. He played last year, and I thought he did well when he played left tackle.
They have options everywhere. The big thing with this entire coaching staff is versatility. Dylan Cook has it. Troy Fautanu has it. So they've got that going for them. And I think they're just going to find out where the pieces fit.
Yeah, that's the disappointing thing about the way they've drafted over the last few years. Now, what happened with Broderick is somewhat a function of the fact that they have switched him from right to left. He should have been a left tackle all along. It helped the first year, but they were much too beholden to an average veteran.
Right.
And
who got $84 million, by the way.
Yeah, but
Dan Moore didn't have to.
That's Dan Moore. That's someone else's problem.
Right.
They should have started Broderick Jones out on the left, and now they're doing the same thing with Fautanu. That movement does not make you great. It makes you have to adjust again.
Well, right. What Mike just said, though, is why you don't, I think, make him a guard. Dan Moore got $84 million in free agency. Fautanu was an ascending tackle last year. Why would you want to make an up-and-coming tackle a guard? That just boggles my mind. In the name of Dylan Cook, I mean, he was competent late in the year, but let's put the Houston tape on. You tell me if you saw a guy that you think is going to be a great offensive tackle in this league.
I saw a lot of problems in that tape. Right?
Hey, I mean, the Houston Texans edge rushers make a lot of offensive lines look bad, but the whole thing about Fautanu, even when he came into the NFL, people thought, talent evaluators thought he might be a better guard someday than a tackle. The Steelers might want to find that out.
Interesting. When we come back, we're going to talk about something else that's interesting. The numbers keep going up on the NCAA tournament. This is Mike DeCourcy's. It's right up his alley here. So we're going to find out about 76 teams. What does that mean? Next. Hey, reminder to you, #1 Cochran has gone all in on Audi. 2 showrooms, 3 locations for service. Pittsburgh's largest new Audi collection. Exclusive benefits through Club One Rewards. Because when you're a #1 Cochran Premier brand, you don't take half measures. Find Audi Pittsburgh on Liberty Avenue in the Strip District, Audi Washington Racetrack Road. Shop online, AudiPittsburgh.com or AudiWashington.com. All right, Mike DeCourcy, I want to talk about 76 teams, 76 trombones. It keeps getting higher. NCAA tournament, 64, 68, 76. When does it end? Is that good?
Oh, it's awful. It's a disaster. For the regular season in particular, because I use Indiana as an example. Indiana, all they had to do to get in the NCAA tournament this year was beat Northwestern twice. Once on the road, and then they had a rematch against them in the Big Ten tournament. You beat them twice, you're in. They couldn't do it either time. In the 76-team field, they would have been easily in. There would have been 4 to 5 teams behind them on the bracket. That's how easy they're making it to get in the field. You can't beat Northwestern? That's okay. You can play. I mean, Northwestern has been a good program in the past, but they won 15 games, I think, in the regular season this year. If you can't do that, you don't belong in the NCAA tournament. And now they're making it easy to get in. They say, oh, it's good for the student-athlete experience. Okay, so all the C-plus students should be on the dean's list from now on because we wanted the students to feel better.
Andrew, you're a big basketball guy. Your thoughts?
I mean, I disagree with Mike just because I like March so much. I mean, I'm the guy that watches the Crown and the NIT and stuff because I want more games. I will admit that up front, okay? The devil's advocate point I'll make, though, is like take Texas, for example, this year. Texas barely made it. They had very, very spotty things on their resume. They could have made it to the Elite Eight with one or two more possessions that went their way. The resumes are going to look bad. It's going to leapfrog mid-major programs again, but those teams, I think, can do damage if they get in.
Right.
As a former Pitt beat writer during their heyday, maybe this means the Panthers.
Oh, God.
Even in the back door.
And what's worse is, how about if they don't at 76? I mean, what does that mean? Maybe Duquesne will get in. Who knows? It's going to be interesting. We're going to take a break, come back right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, it's been fun. We are done. Thank you for joining us. Pirates sweep the Reds, and that knocked them out of first place. Cubs are there.
Cone.
That's right. And now the Pirates go out west to Arizona starting tomorrow night. Good series for them this weekend. That's going to do it for us. Very much thank you to Ray Fittipaldo, Mike DeCourcy, Andrew Fillipponi. We always appreciate your takes, and we'll do it again next Sunday night right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown as my adopted son comes next to me.